Emotions still running high a day after the 2022 elections as the outcome is just starting to sink in. Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte headed for a landslide win. Leni Robredo supporters won't move on just yet, but consistent survey and now election frontrunner BBM and the 30+ million who voted for him already have. Four presidential candidates, Lacson, Isko Moreno, Leody de Guzman, and Faisal Mangondato have conceded defeat. So has VP candidate Tito Sotto, while all eyes are on Robredo and her next move. After the political spectacle these past months, can President Marcos and VP Duterte make good on their campaign promise to unite a nation that has been so drastically polarized? Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix. Politics as usual, the son and namesake of the late dictator, former President Ferdinand Marcos, maintaining a wide lead over Vice President Leni Robredo. That is based on the partial and unofficial tally from the Comelec's transparency server. Here are the numbers. As of 7:17 this evening, Marcos has 31,036,142 votes. Leni Robredo has 14,790,393 votes. Manny Pacquiao, 3,626,198. They're followed by Isko Moreno, who has already conceded. Lacson, who has done the same. Faisal Mangondato, Ernie Abella, Leody de Guzman, who has also conceded. Bert Gonzalez, and Jose Montemayor. In the vice presidential race, it is still Sara Duterte on top with 31,482,073 votes. Kiko Pangilinan has 9.2 million votes. They're followed by Tito Sotto, who has conceded. And they are followed by Doc Willie Ong, Lito Atienza, Manny Lopez, Walden Bello, Carlos Serapio, and Lito David. In the senatorial race, Robin Padilla is still on top with 26.3 million votes. Lauren Legarda, Robin Padilla has 26.3 million votes. Lauren Legarda, 23.9 million. Rafi Tulfo, 23.1 million. They're followed by Win Gatchalian, Cheese Escudero, Mark Villar, Alan Cayetano, Migs Beery, Joel Villanueva, JV Ejercito Estrada, Risa Hontiveros, and Jingoy Estrada. In the top 12, number 13 is Jojo Binay, 14, Herbert Bautista, 15, Gibo Teodoro, and they're followed by Gilor Eliazar, Harry Roque, Greg Onasan, Chel Diokno, and Larry Gadon. The Comelec, the Commission on Elections, sitting as the National Board of Canvassers, is beginning its official count for the Senate and party list race tonight, 24 hours since voting closed Monday, May 9. We bring in our Melissa Lopez from Pasay City. Mel, what is happening there?
Pia, Comelec and Bank has resumed its formal session as the National Board of Canvassers a little past 7 p.m. today, and they have been able to start the official count for the Senate and party list race coming from one area. As of 7:30 p.m., Comelec has reported that 98.7% or about 104,000 voting persons have already electronically transmitted their results, but not all of the local boards, namely the city, municipal, and provincial boards, have finished canvassing. So the results cannot be transmitted yet here at the PICC Forum Tent. Now, the Malabon City election officer arrived a little past 5 in the afternoon earlier, and they have brought in 2 ballot boxes containing the certificates of canvass and the statement of votes in the area. Now, behind me, the NBOC Secretariat operated the canvassing laptop of Comelec to download the electronic copy of that COC, and then they printed it and put it side by side the physically delivered COC from the city of Malabon, and it has to match. They invited poll watchers, representatives of parties, of candidates, to check if the numbers did tally with each other, and when it did, it was officially added to the official count for the two races. Pia.
Mel, what's next after Malabon? And earlier, there was Abra, right, that was set aside. Malabon, what's next after Malabon?
Right, Pia, they first tried to canvass votes from the province of Abra, but they soon realized that they only had the electronic copy rather of the votes. But what Comelec needs, or what the NBOC needs rather, is two copies. So one is electronically transmitted, the other must be physically delivered here at the PICC Forum tent. And right now, we are seeing just a second ballot box being delivered. So we are not yet sure if which area this is coming from, but unless more areas or local canvassers are able to bring in the official copies, printed copies from their local canvassing, the national level canvassing will have to be put on hold. Pia.
This is a first in, first out. Kung ano yung unang dumating, yun ang ika-canvas agad.
That's right.
All right. Melissa Lopez there reporting from PICC Comelec's headquarters as the National Board of Canvassers, because they are doing the senatorial and party list count. Now, the accredited citizens arm of Comelec, the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, is doing a parallel count or manual encoding of electoral returns to check possible discrepancies in the digital transmission of votes. Our AC Nichols is at the PPCRV's command center in UST Manila. What is the update, AC?
Well, she says during
Command Center has received Manila, Makati, Mandaluyong, and Pasay. Earlier today, we were told that over 2,000 ERs have been manually encoded already. Now, the group is expecting more ERs to come in or to be brought here at the command center from a number of areas, including Cavite, Rizal, and Batangas. Now, there's a bit of delay in the transport of election returns, as PPCRV volunteers are consolidating them first by parish before turning them over to the command center. And in some precincts, the Electoral Board also refused to give the PPCRV the fourth copy of election returns, but the group said these incidents are isolated and are easily resolved.
We have an open line with the Comelec, and we asked them for help. Kasi ang nangyari was just miscommunication. Okay, most of the teachers, they were confused kung kanino ibibigay yung fourth copy, because the general instructions says that the fourth copy will be given to the accredited citizens arm. It did not say PPCRB. But nothing that, na-explain naman sa kanila.
The manual audit is done 24/7. This is another way of verifying the digitally transmitted results from the transparency server. Those are the numbers flashed on the big screen here at the command center for the PPCRV's parallel unofficial quick count. No shortage in volunteers. We're seeing long lines of people waiting for their shift or for their turn to man the computers. Pia.
Yeah, AC, as you've been reporting since yesterday, what PPCRV is doing is comparing yung hard copy ng ER at yung digital transmission. In 2019, like you've already said, 99.995% matching rate. No? But for now, what is going on in that regard?
So far, Pia, the PPCRV has yet to note any discrepancies. No? But I want to mention again that only almost 5,000 ERs have arrived here at the or have been brought here at the command center. That's a very small number. Remember, we have over 107,000 clustered precincts nationwide. So we should still monitor the next few days kung ano yung mangyayari or kung may updates sa matching rate. No discrepancies so far, but they have noted mismatching in figures, but only among encoders. Because for those who don't know, the how they do the manual audit is the ERs pass through two encoders. And it's not irregular according to the officials that there are mismatching figures sometimes. It happens, for example, if may typo lang or ma-misread ng isang encoder yung data doon sa election return. But before they archive the data, it goes through a final check. No? So kung makita naman sa final check na okay, the reason why there was mismatching was because na typo lang or mali lang ng basa ng isang encoder, then they correct it before archiving. Yeah.
AC, earlier at 6:25 this evening on Newsnight, you were reporting that PPCRV already has 97% in. It is now 8:10 in the evening, about an hour or so more. What is the number now, right now?
In the latest update, 98% or votes from 98% of the total clustered precincts have been transmitted already through their transparency server. And based on the latest numbers, in the race to Malacanang, BBM retains his huge lead with over 31 million votes. Vice President Leni Robredo at second with 14.7 million. In the vice presidential race, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte also garnering over 31 million votes so far, followed by Senator Kiko Pangilinan with 9 million votes. For the senatorial race, actor Robin Padilla retains the top spot. Other administration-backed candidates entering the top 12 are Loren Legarda, Jinggoy Estrada, and Alan Peter Cayetano. Senator Risa Hontiveros is the lone opposition, making it to the top 12. Yeah.
AC Nichols there reporting from PPCRV's command center in UST Manila. Thank you very much, AC. Now joining us here in the studio is political analyst and former presidential spokesperson Edwin Lacherda. You seem to be here very often. But welcome back. We're so happy to have you. So last night, nandito ka. You were here when all the numbers were starting to come in. And it's been 24 hours. There's still some, medyo mataas ang emotions, no, ng mga Leni supporters, for example. No? How would you address them now? Although you are not naman, hindi ka naman bahagi ng Leni campaign ngayon.
Well, I think there's this thing going around that there's a variance, there's a problem with the Comelec, with the transparency server count, or by and large, pareho lang naman ang results figures ng tatlong servers na yun. So they're questioning that. So I think may believe sila na nadaya si Leni, and therefore we should make sure that the count is the real count is tabulated.
But that's not what Comelec is doing now?
That's Comelec's count Comelec already.
Yeah.
But, so that's why.
And there is PPCRV's count.
There's also PPCRV there, so PPCRV we know it's non-partisan. So, and it's media gets exposed, gets all the figures. No? In fact, you're reporting ahead of the official count, which is basically the same numbers that they're going to report in. So fundamentally, I don't know what we're looking for actually. Except maybe perhaps for the number of VC machines that weren't working. The question at the end of the day will be, assuming that they're all correct, would those uncounted VCs that were not transmitted be sufficient enough to overturn the votes? So is this going to be how long will this take? I think at some point there will have to be closure at some point, and it's up to VP Leni and Senator Kiko to make the proper decision. But right now it's ongoing. And by the way, you're talking about the day after, the first big news, the stock exchange went down. The PSE index went down to its lowest in 9 months. That's hardly surprising, by the way, because during the campaign, we've seen already a number of economists saying that if Marcos becomes president, this is what's going to happen. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now that he's going to be most likely the incoming president, you're seeing the economic forecast coming through.
Yeah, okay. Well, two follow-up questions. Number one, nadaya ba si Leni as far as you're concerned? And number two, when you say that there has to be closure at a certain point, what point is that? And, how are we going to see that? early this morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, Leni addresses her supporters and says, malinaw ang lumalabas. But at the same time, she's calling for a pagtitipon, I think was the term that she used, no? On Friday, May 13.
Whatever I think it's also a continuing show of gratitude to the supporters and also to the passion that shouldn't be dissipated after the election. It shouldn't be for election lang itong passion na to because she has largely awakened the political consciousness of a number of citizens, and that's good. That's good because we need a strong civil society, which has largely dissipated in the Duterte administration. So we need the revival of civil society movements, which is very, very, by the way, very peculiar to the Philippine political experience. We have a very strong civil society movement historically. And so I think this would be a revival of a strong civil society movement. Now, obviously, it has to be in the civil society space because if VP Leni is going to lead this, she won't be leading from a government position. And that's the reason why I think it would be good for Leni to continue to harness all this. These are all positive. Let's turn passion, let's turn frustration, let's turn anger into something positive, perhaps like media speaking truth to power and really being just checking on the incoming government because of so many concerns that we have, right? So it's something that we should be doing.
Holding them to account. We'll be back after a quick break. Stay tuned. This is Politics as Usual. Welcome back to Politics as Usual. This is I'm Pia Hontiveros. Still with us is former presidential spokesperson and political consultant Edwin Lacherda. We're going to have Myla Villanueva, chair of the PPCRV, in just a bit, live from PPCRV's command center in UST. Edwin, what kind of a statement do we need to hear from Leni and Kiko? Does it have to be as clear as we concede, I concede, but this is what we're going to do? Because
I think it's important for Leni to address first his supporters, win or lose. I think,
but she did that this morning.
And I think she'll do it again because I think there's also, she's being looked upon as the leader. Whether she's really the leader right now of the opposition and whatever movement that will be morphed into. My point lang kasi, yung tapos ng election, at some point, we will inaugurate a new president. So the protest will move elsewhere. Does it become a formal electoral protest? Di ba? So kailangan talaga.
But you think there can be an electoral protest?
Hindi natin alam
like that.
We don't know yet if there's evidence as they're claiming. There's evidence. But I think it's also, there's fault that lies with Comelec because they had 3 years theoretically. Elections are every 3 years. To prepare all these VCMs. And whatever the nature or there must have been some maintenance problems with all these machines. Kaya, the 3 years could have been done, or at least the last year would have been done to make sure that those machines were functioning. And because of all these faulty machines, that's why you cannot take away the blame na. You parang the saying, you only have one job. Di ba?
Yeah.
You've just got one job to do.
Pero electoral protest, you're going after
that is assuming that it's already
the winner,
post-election na post-election controversy.
And then why don't they go after Comelec?
Why don't they go after Comelec?
Yeah.
Because they're still in the counting stage. So
but
they're
later
asking,
on nga,
they're asking Comelec to explain.
If they want to make Comelec accountable for these malfunctioning VCMs, instead of filing an electoral protest, or because syempre iniisip ng tao, kung electoral protest, medyo dapat maliit ang lamang or very clear ang evidence na talagang nandaya.
You're asking mga pwedeng gawin, no? So that's the most extreme na magpa-file ka ng protest. But between now and at least kung ano magagawa, nakita na natin, the people are already complaining before Comelec. You got a huge rally kanina, and then they're being asked to explain all these things. But like I said, may counting yan may 3 servers yan. In the same way in 2019, where there was the 7-hour glitch at some point, natapos din yung ganun, yung controversy yun. Whether she will concede, when she will concede, it's up to, I don't know the timeline of VP Leni, but I'm certain that I think the whole movement that she has developed is a victory already on its own. So it's up to her whether she feels it's time to concede. We leave that to VP Leni.
You know, earlier this evening on Newsnight, I was speaking to Michael Yusinko, political analyst also, and, you know, I was asking about this whole scenario, and he was saying what he wants to do is to move on. Parang people are allergic to that term, but anyway, parang to move forward, no? And then, ang gusto niyang tingnan is, ano ba yung magiging composition, halimbawa, ng cabinet, no? Ni incoming President Marcos. And he says, this is where the real work will begin. This is where our love for country will be tested. So the question is, who will be part of this cabinet? And we did talk about that also last night to a certain extent.
Look, the fact that the stock market went down first day after the election shows that there's little confidence in the Marcos administration. That's why he has to immediately form and inform the public, this is going to be my economic team. And you know, for a team to be credible, you have to have people professionals, respectable and credible. So that's the first onus of President Bongbong Marcos, that he has to form it as sooner than dati kasi we can take time eh. You have this whole thing of pipili. Ngayon, kailangan unahin muna yung economic team kasi ito yung problema ngayon.
Right.
You see the lack of confidence of not only for local businessmen, eventually the international investors might also worry and just leave in mag-capital flight. That's one thing that we don't want to happen.
All right, Edwin, we'll get back to you in just a bit. We're going to speak first, and I have a follow-up question for you on that. We're going to speak to PPCRV Chairperson Myla Villanueva. Myla, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Have you been able to rest? Nakapagpahinga ka na ba? Di pa?
No, Pia. Hindi pa.
Okay. All right, so 98...
Good evening, Pia.
Yes, good evening. 98%, that's what's already in. So for you, and you know, you have this... you're going to be comparing the hard copies of the fourth copy of the ER with the digital transmission. So far, is it so far so good? What have you discovered during that process?
Yes. So, Pia, of course, the polls closed at 7, and our coordinators across the country have to collect the ERs from all over. And it is natural that the first ERs that have come into the arena at the UST is coming from NCR. But I just received the report that Luzon is starting to come in also. So we have about 5,006 plus about 2,400 from Luzon.
5,006 plus 2,400. And the pace is, you're happy with the pace. Tama yung how things are going.
First of all, Pia, the arena is packed with young volunteers who have been lining up outside. I understand it had reached España all the way to Lacson. There is a high degree of interest, and the volunteers were waiting for hours. We didn't expect it. They were walking in. So they're working. We're probably going to stay open until the wee hours of the morning because the volunteers are up to the bleachers here at the USC Arena. So far, the matching has been in order, and I just want to wait for a more representative body of ERs to come in before we start talking about match rates.
All right. There is also a very high degree of interest in your count. People are watching the Comelec count, and we can see this very huge lead that BBM has mounted over the second placer, Leni Robredo. So yung the eyes will shift towards the PPCRV count. And I'm sure you feel that, right?
Yes, we feel a lot of things, Pia. Of course, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of disinformation. So we're taking steps as the day goes on, and there are big interest in certain things. First of all, we, as usual, is common. We asked the Comelec for logs around the transmission and the other details about VCMs and SD cards, and we will get that shortly and we will report to you in a while. There's also a lot of questions around the speed of transmission or certain patterns that I was asked in the earlier news cycle. And I wanted to say that we asked experts from the math department of Ateneo and UST. They were here today, and I'm inviting the other universities to be with us tomorrow. And as of the last news cycle around 6:30, they have not found any irregularity in the transmission patterns that people have seemed to talk about in social media this morning.
Patterns, variants, because exactly like you said, no, sa social media, umiikot yung mga graphics na yon. So you're parang telling people na kalma lang, no? We haven't found all these math experts, and that's important. We have these subject matter experts who are on it and have not found anything.
As of the moment, yes. And let's also say that they are PPCRV volunteers, but they're also from universities that I have invited.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Myla, that people should know?
Well, first of all, I want to thank our volunteers across the country. They worked so hard, Pia. I mean, it was hot. There was a lot of people. They worked after the precinct closed to pick up the returns, and then they have to bring it here. So we were polling the coordinators until 4 a.m., and they were still at work. So I think the nation owes them a lot of gratitude. I myself, I'm so deeply touched by the way they worked on election day. So thank you very much to them.
Well, we are grateful to PPCRV volunteers and to you. Thank you very much, Myla Villanueva, PPCRV Chair. We'll speak to you again very soon. Salamat and take care. We'll get the latest from the Marcos and Robredo campaigns when we return. This is Politics as Usual. Stay tuned.
Got it! My most precious jewel, Ruby. Marry me.
Poor eyesight can ruin your love story. Come to EO Executive Optical for state-of-the-art facilities, expert eye care, affordable eyewear.
Wow, Ruby!
EO, love your eyes.
This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. In her first public appearance since yesterday's elections, Vice President Leni Robredo makes an appeal to fellow Bicolanos Bicolanos and supporters as the partial unofficial tally for the presidential race nears 100%. Our Angelalimario is in Naga City. Anjo, what did Robredo say?
Accept the final result of the elections. Pia, that's the appeal of Vice President Leni Robredo to her fellow Bicolanos as they fill the Naga Metropolitan Cathedral tonight. And as she was explaining to them, she said she says that through acceptance, a bigger strength may come in to unite themselves. Speaking in Bicolano, Robredo points out that there will be bigger fights, and it doesn't end with the elections. She says the fight was not only to win, but be part of a better government. Interestingly, she notes she doesn't consider this as a loss because they have achieved many things during the election season. On reported irregularities during yesterday's polls, she says they're currently consulting with experts to study these allegations being spread online and on social media, and once done, they will share the results to the public. Now, if there's a silver lining in all of this, she says she will have more time to come home in Camarines Sur. Her final message to her supporters: do not regret every effort, every sacrifice. She knows that they did everything. And Pia, from that speech alone, you can already sense from that tone that she herself is already at peace, regardless of the outcome of the elections. She has always said that she gave it her all. And meanwhile, there's a separate pasasalamat for her supporters in Metro Manila on the 13th, Pia.
Angela, a while ago, I was speaking to Myla Villanueva, chair of PPCRV, and she did address that issue of the patterns, variants. She was saying that she had invited different math experts from different universities, and so far, as of this evening, they have not found anything.
Well, that's interesting, Pia, and I don't know if that's the same experts that the Robredo camp has been consulting with, but definitely we will relay that information to them, and as to how soon will they release that result of their so-called consultation with these experts to really verify, to vet all these allegations spreading, of course, on social media. Of course, Robredo already appealing to her supporters to accept the result of the elections.
Angelalimario there, reporting live from Naga in Camarines Sur. Now, still with us, former presidential spokesperson Edwin Lacherda, political consultant. Edwin, a while ago, sinabi na nga ni Myla no, na yun na nga, yung wala pa silang nakikita. Another important thing that came up during the campaign was this Google Trends. No?
Right.
So a lot of people kasi were saying, oh, we have surveys, but meron kaming problema sa survey kasi medyo parang bakit si BBM ang leading. So tingnan na lang natin tong Google Trends na to. Did that help the campaign or did that make things worse?
I think the purpose of the survey really is it's a tool that is most beneficial for the campaign team itself, not the people. Because the reason for the survey is, apart from the number, the horse race, the figures, that's not the most important thing. If you're a member of the campaign team, you're looking at the meat, the substance of, for instance, where are the numbers, where are we growing, where are we not, where are we lagging behind, what things did we do at this particular survey period that did us well, that did us badly. So those are the things that hinihimayan eh. If your tendency is to refer to Google Trends and say, malakas tayo and all that, well and good. But that depends on how you interpret it. But ano yung substance nun? Anong sinasabi ng Google Trends that the surveys tell us? Remember that a survey, it's a very direct question. Sino ang binoto mo?
Right.
Ang Google Trends, it's searching for the name. At the very least, at the minimum, it indicates awareness and increased interest. Now, some people would equate increase of awareness or interest as conversion. And that's where the problem is, because Google Trends is fundamentally sentiment agnostic. If I search your name, Pia Hontiveros, it doesn't mean anything except that, sino ba itong si Pia Hontiveros? It doesn't say, uy, gusto ko siya, uy, kakainis siya.
Iboboto ko siya.
Hindi ano na, it's really sentiment agnostic.
Yeah.
So, but, when you look at Google Trends, and they themselves say, we're not a pollcaster, and the people who use Google Trends, they come up with their own rules for AI. So you draw it, and they have their own rules. The algorithms yan eh. Ikaw magagawa ng rules. You set the rules. And depending on the rules, itong lalabas na resulta. And so what we're seeing is, mukhang iba ang na-predict ng Google Trends, or at least those who are using the data on Google Trends, and it didn't come out that Leni won. The thing lang with the survey was one thing was clear, and the reason for the variance is, maybe perhaps hindi nakukuha ng Google Trends ang DNE. Kasi sila ba ay nagsa-search in the first place? Ano bang ginagamit nila? What do they use Google search for in the first place? But clearly, because malaki ang DNE class sa Google, sa Pulse Asia, it confirmed what we're seeing right now in the elections. Because we're fundamentally, malaki ang ating DNE class. And that's the only reason why tama si survey at nagkulang si Google Trends.
Tama si survey at nagkulang si Google Trends, or tama si survey at mali si Google Trends?
At mali si Google Trends. At least dito sa bansa natin.
Sa bansa natin, yeah. Okay, final words, Edwin, before we let you go. We are gonna let Edwin go na ba? Yeah? We have to, yeah.
I think, the report from Bicol was, at least maganda yung sinabi ni VP Leni.
Mas klaro pa yon.
It was clear, accept the results of the election, we can do we can do more things apart from the election proper itself. Kasi she has, raised the passion of the people, make them more civic conscious, and maraming pwedeng gawin after the election. So that's why the passion should not end dito sa election lang. Let's harness it. Let's turn our rage, our anger, our frustration, our denial, the 5 stages of grief into something positive. And that's what we're looking at. And maybe on Thursday, when she addresses the supporters, it would be something...
Friday.
If she addresses the supporters on Friday, maybe that's something we can see some good out of that and continue this whole movement of good governance, transparency, and accountability. Hindi nagtatapos ang laban ni Leni at ng taong bayan.
Edwin Lacherda, thank you very much for being here. I was going to say, I hope we see you again. Bukas ulit. That was Thursday, tas Friday na naman. You're becoming a regular here. Thank you so much, Edwin.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this very quick break. Stay with us.
Mission accomplished! 4 Gilas Pilipinas claimed their first win in the FIBA Asian Cup.
Tapos ngayon, nandito ako para manalo.
Filipino pole vaulter EJ Obena, he just wrapped up a series of indoor pole vault competitions.
A warm hero's welcome greeted a new breed of Filipino world champions.
Pagdanganan is getting the inaugural Miss Golf Award. The PBA has announced it is considering creating a bubble for the resumption of its 45th season.
Welcome back to Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. It is the day after May 9, 2022. Here to give us more insights on the Marcos Duterte campaign is a political consultant and former advertising bigwig, advertising executive Greg Garcia. Hi, Sir Greg. Thank you very much for joining us. You have this smile on your face.
Good evening. No, you said some nice things about me, so.
That's why you're smiling. Okay. All right. You weren't surprised with the results, right? You were expecting this. Well, the surveys were very clear.
Very clear, yeah. It wasn't a surprise, really. The
Okay.
numbers came out the way it was from the start of the month, since last year. A lot of pollsters and experts have said that Leni had a cap of 20%, so pretty much stayed there, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
The opposition, sorry,
yeah,
not
the opposition.
not necessarily Leni, yeah, the opposition, yeah.
All right. A while ago, I was speaking with Edwin Lacherda here in the studio. So, napag-usapan namin Google Trends, and he was saying there really was a problem with using Google Trends. Also, napag-usapan itong sinasabing variants or patterns, no? And Myla Villanueva of PPCRV herself addressed it, saying that she invited math experts over, and they're looking at all these numbers, and so far, she says, they have not seen anything. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I really think the opposition have to, in a sense, they have to face reality. The numbers are just too wide as predicted, and if I were them, I'd, just pull back and start planning already for the next election, and really review where did we go wrong. Mm-hmm. It was very clear in mind from the start where they were going wrong, but they just did not. I'm guessing they did not. Hindi nila pinansin yung mga comments, and I'm really surprised, and maybe it gives credit to the saying too many cooks may spoil the broth, and maybe there were too many cooks in the campaign. I don't know, but I heard there were many cooks really.
How many? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But
I mean, they said the entire film community, production community, creative community, And when there are two creatives there and they're fighting, patay ka na, as they say.
Okay. So when you say that so many things went wrong, can we go over what happened? I mean, I guess this would be a very good masterclass, if you will, on political campaigns, no? In terms of messaging, ano yung naging problema ng Leni campaign?
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Every election you must define it. Is it a continuity election or a change election? You start with that, no? When you know it's a continuity election, then you've gotta play and do another game and not be a change message. So I was surprised that they never even considered that, I think. Second, look at the message. Sa tapat na, tapat ba, whatever.
Sa gobyernong tapat, angat buhay lahat.
Gobyernong tapat. Was that a problem? Are there data to show that people did not consider this government as tapat?
They did not.
Precisely, but when you look at the numbers of Duterte, it's high. So to me, tapat was not the problem, So why were they using that when it is not perceived as a problem of the people? At the end of the day, it's the people you're talking to, And the people you say, tapat, gobyernong tapat, and they say, tapat naman to
Okay.
So there was a disconnect, I think, in the messaging, And I think it wasn't just that. They did come up with a lot of lines. They had this rosas ang bukas. They were
Kulay
playing,
rosas ang bukas. Kulay rosas ang bukas.
Yeah, they were so esoteric, Whereas when you look at the BBM campaign, it was so single-minded, They knew that unity was important. They knew that the country was coming from a pandemic. People don't like trouble. They just want to get back to normal. And when you see people fighting or people, kumbaga sa kalye, ayaw mo na makakita ng mga sanggano, Pag nakakita ka ng sanggano, medyo matatakot ka, no? Ba't nag-aaway pa hanggang ngayon? No?
Well, that's the same thing that Edwin Lacherda has been bringing up since yesterday na dun sa mga FGD, sa focus group discussions, ayaw talaga ng tao ng yung combative, nag-aaway, nang-aaway.
Yeah. Okay. Tama yun. Tama yun. Basagulero, Ayaw na ayaw ng mga tao ng basagulero.
Interesting.
So, to me, and then to me personally, from a, just a perspective of communications, when you say, when you impose a color and you impose lines like tayo, kakampi tayo, you are really being exclusive. And you just kind of kick out the other people or not you, Sabi ko nga, and I hope this is not taken negatively. It reminds me of the Kluk-Kluklan,
Oh my goodness.
I know, don't take it negatively.
Ang daming magagalit sa inyo, Sir Greg.
No, that's right. Don't get angry. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm just saying psychologically, it's a clique, They find themselves as a clique. Sorry if it was a harsh description, but I think, just to make it clear, that's how it comes out in terms of communications, You just cannot, you have to be all inclusive. It can't be exclusive,
Yeah.
So
they did try to be inclusive when they said tao sa tao, puso sa puso. Wasn't that working?
Words are great, but you are judged by your action, Just like in any piece of advertising, you may say it, but it's not resonating because they don't see that. It's like a product promising something but not delivering. So it's not gonna work. There's got to be some synergy between the advertising and the product, whatever it is that you want them to get out of the messaging that you have. So I really think, in a sense, sayang talaga could have been a better fight, as they kumbaga sa boxing. Could have been a closer fight. But I really think they did not go out of their way to try to convert people. I think Edwin Lacherda said that earlier. You've got to go out, convert people. The first question you should ask is, if we are 20%, where will our votes come from? Obviously, it will come from the BBM votes. So therefore, you have to court the BBM voters.
Well,
How do you do that?
That is what they try to do, Sir Greg, hindi ba? Ang sabi nga nila, they need to educate BBM voters para malaman nila what was wrong with martial law, etc.
There you go. The opening line pala, I will educate you, is already a turn off, I think they should have been more sensitive to the feelings of people. Sabi ko nga, if I were to really, if I can turn back the hands of time, I would have taken up anthropology in college. It gives you a better understanding of people talaga and the culture. You cannot communicate from your point of view. It is always to be from the point of view of the person you're talking to. I think they were communicating from their own point of view, believing that everybody was like them. It's so difficult if you make a conclusion that everybody should be like me. That's fatal. We say everybody should think like me. It's not. People don't think like you. And in this world of this election, only 20% of people had the same kind of thinking. You have to get the votes from somewhere else. They should have been more sensitive to the feelings of the people who are for BBM, because these are the people that they would have converted sana to go to the Ledi camp.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Sir Greg Garcia, political consultant and executive advertising bigwig. Salamat, Sir Greg. Bongbong Marcos has yet to claim victory in the presidential race. That's despite his huge lead against his rival, VP Leni Robredo. Our correspondent Rex Remigio is at the Marcos campaign headquarters here in Mandaluyong City. Rex, why is Mr. Marcos not claiming victory yet?
Well, what happened in the 2016 vice presidential elections has something to do with how they see things now. Marcos was leading at least by a small margin at a time when suddenly Robredo overtook him in the race. They have been insisting that they were cheated, which led to their electoral protest that lasted for 5 years. But critics are pointing out to the Supreme Court junking his poll protest. That's why this time the Marcos camp wants to be really sure, and they're urging their supporters to be more vigilant since the official canvassing of votes has yet to start.
Hindi pa tapos ang bilangan. Marami nang nagsasabi na tapos na, pero hindi pa talaga. Antayin natin hanggang talagang maliwanag na maliwanag, mag 100% ng pagbilang. Hanggat tayo ay mag-celebrate o mag-isip na tapos na.
The Marcos camp isn't saying where he is right now or what his plans are. Until now, we're just outside of the campaign headquarters. The Marcos camp says there's no more possible press conference tonight. As you can see, some supporters are just staying outside the campaign headquarters beside the southbound lane of EDSA. Some supporters are urging motorists to show their support by honking their horns. Others are dancing and singing songs related to the Marcos campaign, like the OPM classic Umagang Kay Ganda, which is often played right before Marcos speaks in campaign rallies, or Ang Bagong Lipunan, which is the anthem of the martial law era. We spoke to some supporters of BBM who went here. Some are loyalists since his father's regime. Others, meanwhile, were once anti-Marcos. One said she was enlightened through modern sources of information.
Sinabi naman ng mga professor ko, hindi naman totoo. Kasi wala naman nagpapatunayan na guilty si Marcos, di ba? Siyempre, nag-research ako sa YouTube.
Huwag niyo sasabihin na magnanako ang Marcos. Kasi ang Marcos maraming pera mula noon.
Critics have been pointing out there are court decisions that prove otherwise. The camp, meanwhile, also welcomes the Comelec and Bank's decision to dismiss all motions for reconsideration on the disqualification cases against Marcos. Rodriguez says they always believe the poll body will stay true to its mandate. For the anti-BBM parties, there's no giving up yet until they exhaust all legal remedies. Back to you, Pia.
Rex, just one question. No indications yet as to cabinet appointments, especially, and this is something that Edwin Lacherda and I were talking about earlier, the very crucial economic team.
So far, none at all. We've asked them many times about it, but he's really mum about it. Although he said that he's willing to work with anyone just to be stay in line with their value of unity. Although at some point he also mentioned that he also prefers to work with someone whom he has a working experience in the past. Pia.
Rex Remigio there reporting from the Marcos campaign headquarters in Mandaluyong. Don't go anywhere after this break. This is Politics as Usual. We're on our final stretch. Here to give us his election assessment and outlook is political analyst Richard Heydarian, which he had been doing since last night. He was with us here in the studio last night, but he's joining us now via Zoom. Hi, Richard. Hello, how are you?
I'm still processing things.
Been still processing
long
things.
Hours.
Processing things. You mean it's still sinking into you now?
Not at all.
No.
I'm done with the sinking in part. It's more like processing information with all of the interviews and all we have been doing over the past 48 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to also introduce you as Richard Heydarian, the half Ilocano who was almost born on Marcos Highway.
No, I think I got a little bit of flack on Twitter. It's like, we don't care if you're happening. I just had to say, I mean, I told already on Manpur, I was born almost in Marcos Highway. Just some trivia, just in case people are interested.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're interested in this. Just, Edwin Lacherda was here a while ago. I was also speaking to the chair of PPCRV, Myla Villanueva. Napag-usapan yung patterns, variants. Now, this has been going around social media since last night. The Leni supporters saying that, this probably proves that something went wrong. So Myla addressed that issue, and she said that she had invited math experts from different universities, and so far, as of tonight, they have not found anything. What does this mean to you?
Right. Again, I'm also not very surprised with that. We have seen this, let's say, strategy of denialism for quite some time. We saw that with the bashing of the surveys, including very authoritative surveys, which were consistently correct and spot on almost throughout the elections. We have seen all sorts of alternative indicators, including Google Trends being used, something which is laughable to anyone who has basic idea of how these things work. I mean, interest levels, you can manipulate that. Interest level has nothing to do with voter preference. I've been hearing this, so we're just seeing the latest version of the same denialism. I don't even know if it's a strategy anymore. I think this is just some sort of emotional outburst by people who do not want to see the facts. I mean, you and I, Pia, we have been mentioning the facts on the ground. I've been saying, where are the adults? Because, if you're an adult, you're going to come out and say, you see, maybe we won, maybe we lost. This is the lay of the land. We want to move forward, whether winner or loser. You want to move forward based on verified data and facts and reasonable indicators. And you can pull some mathematician or statistician, whatever, here and there. Anyone can do that, right? But the point is that when you subject this to peer review, to the established consensus of experts, you're going to see a very different results. So now I'm not surprised. It's the latest version we're seeing. Now, I think Vice President Leni Robredo last night, I broke that down live on a different channel while doing my tour last night. She came out and said it was not a concession speech per se, but she said we're going to respect the democratic process. At the same time, we want to get down to the bottom of any irregularities. I see no problem with that. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Respect the process as a whole. Look at possible irregularities. Do something about it. I think that was a mature speech by Leni Robredo. I think she should set that example more and more so that we don't see this kind of preposterous alternative facts coming out here and there.
Okay, a few things, Richard. So tonight, Angelalimario was reporting that Leni spoke again in the Naga Cathedral, and she said, and we quote, to accept the final results. That's what she said, and it was much clearer than early this morning, yung 2 o'clock in the morning speech niya. At the same time, speaking of surveys, what we're seeing here is that, yes, the surveys were right, after all.
Yeah,
Pulse Asia,
they're very
Pulse Research, Lilo, every last one of them.
Yeah, except the Senate one, though, I think I don't think even Robin Padilla saw it coming, but I think more or less the surveys were spot on in terms of the gaps. It was almost a 1.5-way race, not even a 2-way race, because the ratio is 2-1 almost between number 1 and number 2. And as I said, in fairness to Leni, she was not against just Bongbong Marcos. She was against the unity tandem of Sara Duterte and Marcos. That's why it was always hard. And I always said, if you look at Pew Survey, World Value Survey, up to 60% of Filipinos fall into a category that we can call democratically ambivalent. Ang hanap po ng tao ay husay, competence, fire, decisiveness. Now, did the campaign of Leni Robredo tap into that yearning? I'm not very sure about that. And I'm not saying this now. You can go through my tweet. I am sure, Pia, you have seen some of my tweets. I've been subtly telling different camps where they have been going wrong. I'm not attached to any camp. I have no color, right? Of course, I want more competent presidents than not, obviously, right?
Okay.
But I've been saying this. I've been sending these signals. It seems some people are trying to filter it out, whether for emotional reasons or they do want to hurt the feelings of some strategists who are not doing their job or don't know what the hell they're doing.
All right. Richard Hidarian, political analyst. Thank you so much again, Richard. We'll be seeing you in the next few days, I'm sure. Salamat. Thank you for joining us. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m.